Today's main story that we're going to talk about is non-immigrant visas, specifically dealing with 300 plus Koreans that have now been sent back to Korea, supposedly, allegedly in violation of their immigration status. There's a lot of confusion surrounding this news topic. And I feel like a lot of people in this country are anti-immigrants, in part because they haven't received any benefits and they feel like their rights and their benefits have been infringed upon. This Korean company, Hyundai, sending US workers to the United States on various different visas, and now in supposedly violation of immigration laws, they have now been sent back. This is what I want to talk about because, again, just like how I do these consultations for corporations, thinking through how to use immigration to help their company, I feel like a lot of people just don't quite understand how immigration can benefit them as well. I think by now, a lot of people understand that there were plenty of people who got the B-1 visa to enter the United States. It is a business visa to come to the United States. Their salary is paid by the employer abroad, and they have to do critical work here in the United States in order to benefit a U.S. entity. And what in this case, right, it was supposed to be a battery plant that they need to help set up because there's so much technology and infrastructure that needs to be created, and U.S. workers don't have the know-how, specialty knowledge in order to set everything up. So that's why they had to send people from overseas. The classic example of this are engineers who work on the software, who worked on the machinery. They are the only ones who know how to do it. But if the US wants that technology, they want to be able to implement, they need those engineers to get a visa to come over here for a short period, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, set everything up, do the training, and then leave. And then now US workers receive the training and now they know how to operate. And that is legal and that is lawful and that makes perfect sense. And the US has been doing that for years. The language requirements that they have to build and the technology that they have, it's not so easy that they could just immediately hire somebody else. And so really what we need to take a look at to really decide if they violated any rules is, out of the 300 people, how many of them got the B-1 visa, right? And what they say during the B-1 visa interview, how many people did they hire on top of the 300 people? So, I mean, we're clueless about that, right? What if they had 300 people and they hired another 1,000 or another 300 or 500 other U.S. workers to work side by side with them? That sounds like the ratio is about right? But if the company was just trying to save money and they didn't hire anybody else, then it might become like, oh, there's a conspiracy here to kind of evade immigration law. And some of the people, they were trying to save cost. That might be true. It depends, right? And again, there's so much confusion about what people can do on different visa categories, right? If you're on a visa waiver, if you're on a B-1, B-2 tourist visa, you're not supposed to work. Not even going to the plant and, doing consulting. That's considered work. You're supposed to get a B-1 visa for that. Now, B-1, B-2 tourist visa allows you to be an investor. But if you're on a visa waiver and you're a tourist, but you're coming in, you're paving things and you're doing electrical work, well, you should have hired a U.S. worker for some of those jobs. The reason why the Korean government and the U.S. government had to get involved with this, because even though it seemed like such a small little thing, is because of the I-9 penalties. And what I mean by that is, if a U.S. company knowingly violated immigration laws by hiring somebody without the proper documentation and they failed the I-9 report intentionally, it carries fines, but it also carries jail time. There's so much immigration law that can benefit your company. But if you don't do it correctly, it carries with it severe fines and jail time. And if you just look up I-9 violations history, companies have had to close down and go bankrupt because of I-9 violation, because they count every single paperwork violation. And suddenly, instead of IRS sending you owe $1 million, now it's ICE. But what's more severe is the jail time. I have been predicting for a long time now that ICE is going to do I-9 enforcements severely, especially after they staff up and after they run out of quote unquote political targets that they have been empowered to do right now. But once the staffing level is up, they could go through, and that's within their rules and regulations, right? And they're finding businesses for violating immigration law, and the public is much easier to stomach those challenges as opposed to pulling people away and deporting them.